All right, we'll call the meeting to order. If you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Amy, if you could call the roll, please.
Sure. Tom Siebold?
Present.
Selena King?
Present.
Ed Dawson?
Present.
Jeffrey Johnson?
Present.
Laura Gunchin?
Present.
And Art Martinucci is here as our solicitor.
And we have quorum.
We do have a quorum. Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the minutes of the April 11th meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second. One correction, but it's just a clerical one. The header still reads March 14th. That should be April 11th.
Okay.
Amy has the Word version of this document, so she'll go ahead and make that change.
Okay.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you. All right. That motion passing, we will move on to appeals to be heard. And before we get to the first one, I'd like the record to reflect that I do need to recuse myself. I do have a prior professional relationship with the appellant.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so appeal number 12285. This will be by Mary Mitchell. This concerns a property located at 1400 East Lake Road. Index will be 14-1120-205. It's located in an RLB residential limited business district. The appellant is requesting a use variance for a tattoo parlor. Per section 204.14, tattoo parlor is not a permitted use. Mary, if you'd like to join, you and Chris.
Hey, before you start, I'd like you to be sworn in if you're going to give testimony by the stenographer.
You could do it at the same time if you both intend to give testimony. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability here today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you please
State your name and address before you speak. That goes for everybody today.
My name is Christopher Matolsky Sr., and my address is, the address you said?
Yes.
3821 Brickyard Road, Northeast PA, 16428.
Okay, go ahead.
I was speaking for my wife, Ann. She does not want to speak. She's nervous. I'm really nervous. We were asking permission to change the zoning for her to there's a separate room in front of our building that we want to utilize and have a tattoo shop. We looked into it to see that the zoning wasn't proper. So we're trying to do everything the correct way. There is like a motorcycle shop, a repair shop across the street, and then on the adjoining corner, there's also a tattoo shop that already exists there. So we just assumed, but then once we looked into it, we realized we weren't zoned for it. So that's why we're asking permission.
Let me correct you that you're applying for a variance, not a zoning change. Only
A
City
variance.
Council does zoning.
Yes, the variance.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just want to make sure. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Anybody here to speak in behalf of this variance? Anybody else to speak in behalf of the variance? Anybody else to speak on behalf of the variance? Anybody opposing the variance? Anybody opposing the variance? Anybody opposing the variance? Okay. Questions from the board?
What hardships does this present? There are criteria for you to ask for a variance. One of them is hardship. Are you aware of the criteria?
No. I'm confused with the question.
Mr. Dawson, I'll try to explain a little bit.
Thank you.
So when you come in and request a variance, there are things that the board will look at to determine whether or not, under current Pennsylvania law, you qualify for the variance. One of the questions that we ask always, no matter what type of a variance it is whether or not there is a hardship that you face in terms of utilizing the property for something that it is properly zoned for, okay? So if there was a piece of property that had been vacant for an extensive period of time and you were having trouble reletting or having somebody move in there because of, you know, the condition of the building or the changes in the neighborhood and things like that, that could constitute a hardship. Other things that we look at or that the board looks at under current Pennsylvania law are whether or not the change that you're asking is going to alter the character of the neighborhood. Now, you talked about the fact that there's a motorcycle repair shop across the street, that there's a tattoo parlor across the street and down the way a little bit, although those are in separate zoning districts from the one that you're in at this point. Those could be examples of how maybe the change, the variance that you're asking for wouldn't alter the essential character of the neighborhood. So there are about 4 or 5 criteria, and one of the ones that Mr. Dawson was asking about was whether or not there's a hardship that you face as a result of the condition or location or particular characteristics of this building. So let me ask you a few questions to see if we can elaborate on some of this stuff.
Okay.
You are the owners of the building?
Yes.
Okay. And what currently is in the building?
Bar / restaurant, bar and grill.
Okay. And there's a separate room off of the building?
Yes.
Okay. And how long has that room been vacant?
Since we purchased it.
When did you purchase the building?
6 years ago.
Okay. Do you know what was in that room before?
Basically storage. This is a storage area.
Go ahead.
It was like they were planning to do something with it, but never got there. There was like drywall that was unfinished, like no trim up. It was like half done, 3/4 of the way done project,
Okay.
and it had just sat that way for years.
Okay. And that was the condition the building was in when you purchased it?
Yes,
And you knew what the zoning was on the building when you purchased it?
yes.
Okay. Has anything changed about the building or about the neighborhood that, let me ask you this question. Have you finished that space?
Yes, as far as painting and patching and, yeah, all that. Yeah, there's like a few minor things like flooring needs installed and things like that, toilet, sink. But a lot of things have changed in the last 6 years. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with like that actual small little area of that neighborhood, but there, businesses struggle there. And it's hard to find, the bar struggled, food-wise and otherwise with like the cooking and, being able to price, like you cook food, you can only present it for a certain price because of, it boils down to that actual area. We sell food cheaper there than somebody 3 miles away sells their same food identical. Because that the whole neighborhood, in my opinion, is struggling as far as small businesses and otherwise. I felt that it fits because, we'd like to utilize that area to have a small business in there. So when you look at the list of small businesses that you could have in there that would survive, there's not a lot. There just isn't. Being that there's already a bar there that serves food and everything, it kind of enhance it because tattoos and the bar and the food, and you could meet there before you got a tattoo or celebrate after you got a tattoo, or I just think it would just kind of clicks with the neighborhood. There is a tattoo shop across the street, but for whatever reason, I just don't feel like they're meeting. They're doing everything they could to make that business successful.
I will note that I had visited the property at one time. The room is very small. So I would have to agree, when I looked at this, there was a hard business to put in that small of an area where he only needs one chair to do the tattoo work at the time.
Is this room that we're talking about, when you purchased the building, was the room separate from your existing structure?
No, it's all one building. It just has a different entrance.
All on one parcel, it would be given a separate address.
But my question really is accessing the room. Can I access the room from the interior?
No, only from the outside.
Okay. When you bought the building, could you access the room from the interior?
Because the drywall was missing, one piece, some drywall was missing. The wall was built, but
So-
like pieces of drywall
Yeah.
weren't there. Now you cannot.
But at the end of the day, you put the wall in.
No, the drywall. Though, see, it was, everything was framed, and the drywall, 3/4 of the drywall was up. There was like a piece off of this wall that wasn't there. 2 pieces that weren't over here. I mean, it was, like I said, 3/4 of the way. Like the door and the door case were in, but they weren't, there was no trim on it, only one side of it. It was kind of hanging. It was like they lost interest in it or didn't have the money to finish it. So that's how it ended up. But once the drywall was up, and like I said, the wall was framed, everything was done, but you could cut through there, you know what I mean? But I put the drywall up, everything's finished, there's no way to access that room except for with the front door.
Okay.
On the picture, where is it? Is it with the eastmost door?
It's yes, right there.
Okay.
And there's the 2 windows are in there, in that door.
And when you say it's small, like, how many square feet are we talking?
It's from her to me,
Okay,
and it's that wide too.
okay.
They have provided architectural documents for if this change is approved, they would be completing with ADA things that they need to have accomplished before they can open up.
I have a couple questions. What will your hours be?
We thought about that also, and we'd like to try to keep the hours the same as the bar. As, you know, because the bar would be open and that we wouldn't want them to be like open later than what the bar is. But see, again, in that neighborhood, now, usually, you know, the bar could be open till 2 o'clock, but the bar rarely stays open until 2 o'clock. Usually we shut the bar down at midnight because nothing good happens after midnight. You know, so there's been, you know what I mean, in the neighborhood, different things have going on. I'm sure you're aware of the news, but I mean, 2 or 3 blocks up, there's a shooting like once a week or once every 2 weeks. So we try to just close everything down at like midday. So, I mean, if it was open, maybe open 1 or 2 days later, maybe possibly the weekend, Friday and Saturday, open till 2 o'clock, or they could be if they wanted to, but I doubt it. I would say right around midnight. Just close everything down. It's the safest way to be.
And then you'll have all the parking, is it going to be off-street or a combination of on-street and off?
It would be off-street to the left there. You can see part of it, see where the vehicles are. Yeah, that. Well, we own the parking lot there.
Okay.
In which I did just have gravel delivered this morning, but we own the parking lot there too. So there's plenty of off-street parking.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Are you subletting or are you going to run the?
We're gonna have someone who owns a tattoo shop rent it from us. A friend of mine.
Any other questions from the board? Anybody else who wants to speak in behalf or oppose? Okay. Call for a vote.
I'm in favor of it.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes?
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Becker?
Thank you very much.
I'm very much familiar with that area. In fact, we have a school down the street from you, so I hope you'll conduct your business such that it's incongruent with the nature of
Absolutely.
children.
Yeah, the school behind us, also like, that parking lot there, we had purchased property further in, so we plan on doing a lot of things there. But yeah, we're aware of that, and we absolutely, we take our precautions. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Amy, moving on to the next appeal.
Okay. Next appeal is appeal number 12286 by Sheriff, and I apologize, I'm probably going to butcher your last name, Al-Rubaidi, is that correct? Okay. On behalf of Ironclad Management, I do have written permission and email from the property manager for him to do this appeal today. This is concerning a property located at 1208 East, should be a 38th Street in there, East 38th. And the index is 185017-111, located in an RLB resident limited business district. The appellant is requesting a dimensional variance for an oversized sign. Per section 303.18, 24 square feet is the maximum allowed per 75 foot of frontage. The appellant has not provided any size that would be requested. I am waiting for more information, and that was when this was written.
Okay, if you could state your name and address, please.
Yeah, so my name is actually Abdul Ghani Laswat. Sharaf is my partner, so we're in this together.
Okay, and your address?
My legal address is 9119 North White Oak Lane, Bayside, Wisconsin,
Okay,
53217.
okay. If you could be sworn in, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability here today?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay, so I didn't get the size sign because I thought you guys would approve what size, what size we can actually have, the sizes. So I didn't know I had to provide you with that. But I got a few pictures here of how the building was before and why the signs was probably zoned for a smaller sign.
Do you want me to take it up?
Yes, please. So I got pictures before and after, and I also have a picture I took for like one of the billboard advertisement in the same sizing facility. So that's why I'm like, it's I wanted a bigger sign because the way that the plaza is set up, it's lower. It's not even with the street. So the street is like it got a little. I don't know how to explain it, but it's
Hill down
yeah,
to the parking
yeah,
lot area.
yeah. So we wanted it so people when they drive by or come by, they can really see the business. So that size, that's the first one. Wasn't really a good size. So we needed a bigger sign so people can really, when they drive by or something, they can see our sign. That's it.
I will note in the picture that you can see on the screen at this time, the 75 foot is in the yellow line towards the blue property line. There were also 2 units associated with his business at this time that is currently open. So this used to be a hair salon, changed use from hair salon to retail business, and that 75 feet incorporates both units that he's looking for. So it would be 75 feet for one sign for those 2 units, so to say, that were inhabited in one originally with the hair salon.
I thought he asked what was permitted.
24 square feet per 75 feet of frontage. That's why I showed that.
So are you aware that that's what you're permitted?
Yeah, that's the sign I guess that we're allowed to have. But when we did the design, it wasn't big enough. Like I forgot to print out the picture or the design for the one that we are allowed to have. And it was just too small on like when they did the picture and the frame they put it up, it was just coming out too small.
So do you know the size now?
Actually, I don't, because I didn't know that I had to have it set up before I come here and what size I needed. So I thought you guys might like either like double the size or something like that, because I thought you guys would tell me what you can, like how big I can make it. So I didn't go ahead and made a bigger one.
What type of sign are you requesting? Freestanding, one that's going to be affixed to the building?
Fixed to the building.
Fixed to the building?
Yeah.
Okay. So like the sign that's there now, that's attached to the building, that says the vape shop, just bigger?
Yes, but it's not gonna be a billboard, it's gonna be a lettering, like a electrical lettering sign.
Okay.
Yeah, that we just put it up temporary until we get this resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say electrical, do you mean like a LED?
I don't know what they're gonna put inside but it's gonna be like a lettering, sorry, English is my second language. So it's gonna be a lettering, so it's a letter, basically, letters, but they're gonna put lights inside it, so I don't know what kind of lights they're gonna use.
Okay, because that's a different, because in the city, there are certain rules on that with, so, because we've dealt with this before, so we have to make sure that if it's going to be a LED sign, that it meets the zoning requirements for that then, too.
Okay, I mean,
Can you turn to that? Because I didn't bring my book today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because there's a different zoning requirement for that. Yeah, for the lighting. That's
It's
why I
under
wanted to make sure.
section 303. Under signs.
That we know exactly what he's asking for.
You know what he's talking about?
Maybe that's smarter.
Is there do you possibly have like a Google image of what you want? Do you have a picture of it? Can you find it online and show us maybe what you're looking for? And maybe we can go to the next appeal and then come back. Can we do that?
yeah, that's
Madam Chair, if allowed, without further charges to the gentleman, if he could come back with more specificity to what he's asking for, could we do that as opposed to
So
act on something that's
So what I'm hearing is a
inconclusive?
motion to table this until the next meeting to
That's-
allow the appellant.
I got a picture of, like, if you want to show me through my phone how the sign's gonna be.
Table it. I got nothing. Table this thing.
Yeah, this is, on the picture.
I was going to pass this down to Laura so she could see where
Where?
You don't know how big that is.
That's the legal, that's the one that we are allowed to have.
That's the about 5.
Yeah, that's the one we are allowed to have.
Would you like to see, Laura?
Okay, this is what they're allowed to have.
303.23.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I request that we table it as a result of not having the specificity, and that's why you're really here.
Yeah.
You want to know specifically how
Bigger.
big can you put the sign up?
Yeah, because I got 2 units. So when I leased it, I didn't lease just 1 unit, I leased 2 different units. And I put all the business 1 unit, basically. So it's considered one business.
One sign, not 2 signs,
Yeah,
and so forth?
it's
Right.
one sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Is-
if you could,
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
thank you.
Okay. And I'm assuming we're all in favor of tabling? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So what's happening right now is they're tabling your request, not denying it, not granting it,
Okay.
all right? What you need to do is you need to provide Ms. Francis with the size of the sign that you actually want,
Okay.
and I would recommend also the type of sign that you want in as much detail as possible, because we can't say, okay, you can have a bigger sign, without knowing how big the
What
sign
size
is.
Okay.
And we're not up here to make decisions that, okay, you can do X or Y. You need to make the proposal.
Okay.
So you won't have to pay another fee or anything like that. And again, your request for variance has not been denied,
Okay.
but you'll be on the agenda for next month. And in that time, you need to get Ms. Francis as much detail as possible about the size of the sign that you want and the type of sign that you want. And then maybe even with some drawings that we can see, and then the board can consider. They can bring your request off of the table and then vote on it at that point in time.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Do you have a contractor that's developing the sign for you?
Yeah.
I would suggest you bring him.
His actually they do his out of out of Pittsburgh, so he's not really gonna come.
They should at least be able to provide
Yeah,
you
they're
with
gonna-
documentation.
Yeah, the same. They're gonna do the same one like this one I just showed you guys, with just the sizes and everything
Yeah.
on it.
Don't have them build it yet, just
Yeah,
have
yeah, I
them give
know,
you the
yeah.
information, okay?
Yeah, we didn't build the first one until we got it.
Also, make sure you contact your building inspector. You guys need an occupancy permit to be open.
Yeah, I know. We
Okay, just make
actually
sure you do
he
that
actually
part.
gave me the okay for that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so
That's all,
Okay.
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, yep.
Okay, Amy, moving on to the next appeal, please.
Okay, appeal number 12287 by Dan Fiore. This is on behalf of the City of Erie School District, since they are the current owners still. I also do have appropriate documentation to allow him to do this appeal from the school district. This is concerning the property located at 2310 Plum Street, index number 19-6027-100. Located in an R2 medium-density residential district, the appellant is requesting a use variance for a personal self-storage facility. Per section 204-12, personal self-storage facilities are not permitted uses.
Okay, if you could state your name and address, please.
Dan Fiore, 2001 Wallace Street, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, you'll be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability here today?
I do,
Thank you.
yes.
Please proceed.
So I'm here today requesting a zoning variance for 2310 Plum Street to do two things. One, open a self-storage, indoor self-storage facility, and two, save the building. With the dilapidating condition of the building and its vacancy nearing, I believe, almost 10 years now, the building is in very bad condition. It's proven over time being for sale. Other companies have approached to try to buy this property and obviously have backed out. I believe that this is one of the best uses for the property, be the least intrusive to the neighborhood as far as aesthetic goes. We have no desire to change anything on the outside. As far as, excuse me, small necessary signage to direct traffic and customers. As far as traffic goes at our current facility, we average anywhere from 1 to 3 visits of a customer per week. We have been in contact with the Sisters of St. Joseph's and working with the neighborhood to maintain, even though we're not seeking to buy the land next door, we're willing to work with Sisters of St. Joseph in the neighborhood to keep that as a green space. As far as signage goes, that is one key thing that I can't stress enough, is that in the area, obviously, it's a residential neighborhood. And when you think of self-storage, you might think of U-Haul, big signs, big trucks, rent me, rent this. We have no desire to do that, mainly because there's nothing to advertise on the street. We aren't looking to gain customers by people driving by, again, being a low-traffic area. Perfect example is our other location at 531 East 25th Street. Now, by allowance, and I know by frontage, we could have easily had a huge sign. We opted out. We had one small sign. That's all we need. Personally, I love these old buildings. We try to maintain them the best that we can. Obviously, like I said, we intend to do not much changes to the exterior other than general cleanup. Anything that we can salvage as far as structurally goes, that's what we intend to do.
You mentioned that the property itself is in significant disrepair. Could you expand upon that a little bit?
So yeah, it's just with its vacancy being so long, the roof leaks. There's just, it looks like it's been flooded a handful of times. The structure is sound. That's one thing I can note. But as far as I think all the first floor windows are boarded. All the doors at least look like they've been broken in 1 or 2 times. There's just the general, eyesore of the neighborhood of how it looks. Also, too, being as what I believe the last investor tried to do when they got their estimates back as far as to build new versus rehabilitate the building. I believe the rehabilitate the building was almost double the cost, which again kind of extends upon saying about the condition of the inside of the building.
And what would be necessary to transform it for your purposes?
Very minimal. So basically we would just mainly, as far as exterior goes, gating the parking lot, just keeping the entrances usable. There would be some sort of access point from the outside, whether it's, one of the entrances, just nothing to avoid, obviously fire exits. As far as the inside goes, that is actually the beauty of the self-storage industry. There's not much we need. We just need the structure. There's nothing aesthetically really we need. All we use is lighting. It's as simple as we even have customers that rent large spaces, so even just renting out classrooms would be an option. So as far as renovation goes, aside from the repairs, it's very, very simple what we need to do to accomplish a business there.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. This was rezoned with some conditions before. To our solicitor, do those conditions apply to?
So what we did, the variance that was granted with regard to WODA developers, that would have expired at this point in time because they took no action. Okay. So we're basically, from a zoning perspective, we're starting from scratch. From a factual perspective and from a legal perspective, we have previously made a determination that there is a hardship with regard to the redevelopment and use of this property. So that element, I don't think we have to go into great depth on at this point in time because the situation hasn't really changed in that regard. It's not like WODA went in, did some work, and then left. It's the same way that it was, if not a little bit worse, when they came before us previously. So none of those changes are necessarily binding here. So if you wanted to condition anything, you would want to restate those things in a decision here. From just a general education for me on this, you had noted that a lot of the windows on the first floor had already been boarded up. From an aesthetic perspective, are you going to keep those boarded up? Are you going to brick those up? Are you going to make other changes to that first floor? Are you going to restore windows?
We most likely wouldn't restore windows per se in most areas. We would cover them, but other than not plywood.
Right.
Up an aesthetically pleasing type fascia.
Well, also not very secure in the long term,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My second reason for asking is the neighbors made a request at the time that they have use of some of the property, I guess, and that it would be maintained by the previous person who applied. So, as you've already stated, are they aware that the neighbors have made requests of the property?
Yeah, and I believe there's 2 properties in question here, because there is the empty lot that's, if we
Could we get that back up on the screen, please?
So the previous potential buyer was seeking to buy both parcels. I'm only looking to purchase the one.
Okay.
So as far as green space goes in the area next door that I believe that you're referring to, would have absolutely nothing to do with us. If
Okay.
anything, we would advocate for to continue it as a green space and continue to work with Sister St. Joseph's to hopefully persuade the Erie School District to donate it to the city, to turn it into, I think, one of the items was a dog park that the neighborhood wanted.
So, Jake, as we're looking at that, we see the school building, and then to the left, there's that big open space. Is that the second parcel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on that school district also.
Okay. So the school district would retain that property?
From my understanding.
And you're saying that you're not looking to buy that parcel?
No, I'm not looking to purchase it. However, if the school district did want to include that in the sale price, I would happily turn and donate that back to the city for the reason of what the neighborhood would like to do with it. But yes, at the end of the day, I have no desire to purchase it and maintain any of that liability that would come along with that, unfortunately.
What do you do for security in the building?
So for inside and outside, basically we would have the gated parking lot, security cameras covering the exterior and interior. As far as entrance goes, customers all have either a key fob or a keypad to enter. The building remains locked 24/7. Only customers can enter, and only customers enter by appointment.
So how many units are you looking to do in terms of interior self-storage? And then what else are you looking to do there? Like, are you planning on parking boats and cars, things like that?
Good question. So for the first side, as far as the number of units goes, it's a very hard question to ask, or to answer, because in my current facility, we have units as small as 5x5s, and then ones as big as 10x15s. So basically, we are looking to utilize the first floor, which is mainly the main space. So as far as that goes, it could be anywhere from the initial somewhere between 60 and 100 units inside. As far as the exterior goes, we have no anticipation of any outdoor storage units, no outdoor parking other than customers that would park there, either unload or visit the facility. Again, there's nothing on the exterior we want to do.
Okay, and then, so when you're talking fencing, then you're talking the parking lot sort of southwest there?
Correct. So there would just be a fence, that would just be fenced in with a gated entrance, that would eventually be a coded gated entrance.
Okay.
Not to get too far into the weeds, but what type of fencing?
So that's one thing also we were working with Sister St. Joseph with. We're up for neighborhoods but yes, obviously some sort of decorative fencing, possibly, and the wrought iron that would kind of aesthetically match the age of the building and the neighborhood.
And ADA accessibility?
Yes, so I believe the building is currently all ADA accessible as it is. So as far as entrances and exits go, none of that would change. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So is that a 3-story building, 4-story building? 3-story.
If you include the basement, I guess it would be considered 3 stories.
Okay.
There is a walking, attic space above the front portion being Plum Street side, but would just be an unfinished attic, so I don't think we would consider that a third floor.
And do you have plans for that stuff?
As far as the second floor goes, we have no real plans. Unfortunately, in this business, that's kind of where the trade-off is. Yes, mainly the first floor is the most usable space. Unfortunately, there is lots of portions of the building on the upper floors that would probably go unused, just because of access to them. They would be maintained, obviously, but mainly unused.
Were these entered into the record, these letters?
I'm not sure.
Were these letters entered into the record?
Those are the ones I got last night, and they will be added to this record. They're part of your exhibits because they want to find out the application.
Questions?
Will the unit be, is it temperature controlled or?
Yes,
how
it'd
do
be
you do that?
climate controlled.
Okay. And what are and it's just, you said it's accessible by appointment, it's not a 24-hour access?
So initial customers would be by appointment. Once you're a customer, you would have 24/7 access. And that would be by PIN code or key fob entry.
Would you be open to limiting that to not 24-hour access?
We would be open to the idea. At our current facility, there really is, almost zero activity on, as far as going inside when you look back at our door entrance system, from anywhere after like 11 p.m. to about 4 in the morning. Very, very rarely. But yes, we would be open to limiting the really late night hours. Just because, again, it is really of no use, as far as I've seen of our track record history, as far as what customers need.
And other than access control activity, do you monitor surveillance cameras or anything?
They're recorded.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have someone watching them at all times.
Okay.
I do have in the letters of support that we submitted, and I apologize if it was this last evening and the members didn't receive it.
Yep.
But one of them I did want to touch on was I did visit some neighbors around our current facilities, and it's a good example because our current facilities are, in a sense, in a residential setting. There are many residential neighbors, residential homes directly around us, and I have some written and signatures on there, basically stating that we do conduct our business with respect to the neighborhood. This isn't a busy type business. It's one where, in all reality, if we didn't clean up the outside and put some lighting, you wouldn't even really know we were there. That's just how low a traffic a storage company generates. And aside from, if like I said, other storage comes with the big signage, that is not our intent at all. Again, it really, as far as the aesthetics go to the neighborhood, will almost remain the same and save a historical structure.
Any other questions from the board?
Do we have people online speak?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else to speak in favor of the request? Anybody else in favor?
I would like to, can you hear me online?
We can.
We can. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Heather Casper. I am speaking on behalf of Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network, and our address is 425 West 18th Street.
Okay, if you could be sworn in, please, Heather.
So I do want to speak in favor. Oh,
Heather, if you could be sworn in, please.
was that question?
You need to be sworn
Oh,
in
yes.
first. Yes.
Can you please raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability here today?
I do.
Okay, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Neighborhood Network, and I want to be clear, I did not have enough advance notice to speak to the majority of the adjacent property owners, like we were able to do with the previous hearing with the WODA proposal for the same property. But I have spoken with a smaller group of the neighbors, not as many as I would have preferred, but I have spoken with a smaller group of them prior to this hearing. That said, I can speak to the highest priority concerns that the larger group of residents have regarding any development at the Irving School. And they fall primarily under the criteria of maintaining the character of the neighborhood, but also preserving the history of a neighborhood anchor and preserving access to the adjacent green space and issues of safety, of course. So with this in mind, I definitely can speak in support of the plans that Dan Fiore has for the building. We have worked with Dan previously in his similar adaptive reuse of the storage facility at Ash and 25th Street, and we feel his proposed use will favorably address the issues that the neighbors have for this property as well. As you've talked about already, Dan's plans for the exterior are to change nothing except to address badly needed repairs, add some access to doorways if needed. And so there is no change to the character of the neighborhood there. He has shown in his other properties that he is very keen on salvaging any architectural elements from in-inside that he can find, as well as the history of the building. He has talked with us about helping to create a permanent history installation on the lawn there that could share the history of the school and even potentially be a site where alumni of the school could come to share the history of the school there too. Some other items that you've already mentioned today, the green space, he said he's not interested in purchasing that property. The neighbors are still very interested in that and maintaining that green space and seeing that use. So we appreciate that he would help to advocate for that in the future. And also, just use and presence alone will increase the safety of this site, as happens with any vacant structure that can attract dumping and loitering. And so he has, as he said, he's talked already about the possibility of being open to a more decorative fencing around the parking lot instead of just chain link. So we would want to work with him on that and potentially even help come up with some funds to do that. And his security cameras and monitoring of cars coming and going is actually a beneficial thing for the neighborhood over just a vacant building. So I want to speak in support of Dan. He is a good neighbor at his property at 25th and Ash. Beyond even just that building preservation, he's worked with the Redevelopment Authority to acquire adjacent properties that are blighted, and at his own expense has torn down some of the blighted structures, and so we know him to be a good neighbor. The neighborhood would love to see this building used on all floors and used to its greatest potential, but that doesn't seem to be something that anybody has interest in, and so we do feel like this would be an acceptable use of the property. Thank you for an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Heather?
No, Madam Chair.
No? Okay. Thank you, Heather. Anyone else to speak in favor of the request? Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone to speak in opposition of the request? You can have a seat.
Thank you.
Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? No? Okay. We are going to hear the next appeal, have a brief executive session, and then we'll be back for the vote. Okay, thank you. Amy, if we could go to the next one, please.
Okay, appeal number 12288 by Jack Thompson on behalf of the Manor Plaza LLC. This concerns a property located at 2105 West 8th Street, parcel number 16-3117-314, located in a C1 local commercial district. The appellant is requesting a dimensional variance for an awning in the rear of the building. The required setback is 12 foot per section 205-14. The appellant has 4 foot available.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Jack Thompson, 2105 West 8th Street.
Okay. You could be sworn in.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability here today?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Amy, these are the papers I spoke to you about. I know you have a lot of paperwork in front of you, so I put together a short one page and some pictures which speak directly to it, showing the area that I'm talking about and what we're asking to do, and also the type of awning that I would put up. And the reason for it is very simple. I put up an awning. I thought I could we used that area back there as a patio, My daughter and I own and manage the plaza, and we use that. It's a fenced-in area. We go out there, we like to eat lunch, we like to take breaks, and we like to take our dog out there. I didn't realize it, but the brick on the back of that patio is like a pizza oven. It gets so hot. Even the steel door coming out of the garage, the man door, it's very hard to close it when it's hot. And it doesn't have to be hot outside, the sun just has to be out. So I put up a rollout awning thinking that would solve the problem. It didn't, because the brick already have absorbed the heat by the time we get there to roll the awning out. And so my idea is simply to put up an awning to block off the sun from the brick area so that we can use it. It won't interfere with anything because that's, as you can see in those pictures, it's a private area that just her and I and our dog use. The back sheet on there shows the type of awning. It's very simple, and the width is necessary because there's a cement block wall back there that I could anchor the post to, but it needs to be 10 foot out to do that.
Could you say that again? Repeat that.
The width of the awning is 10 feet that we're requesting because there is a, I call them mafia blocks. There's a block wall back there that's very secure. When we put the addition on the plaza, we had to build that wall up back there, and that would allow us to anchor these posts on the awning because I just left it gravel back there. It's not cement. The whole thing's not cement.
How long have you owned and operated the plaza?
We bought it in 2002.
Okay.
I retired once, but this young lady back here said, if you'll stop selling real estate, I'll help you. I'll manage it if you'll help me. That was almost 28 years ago, and I'm still helping her. It looks like I'll still be helping her till 2 days after I retire, which is after I die.
Any questions from the board, Mr. Thompson?
How tall is it going to be?
I put on there 12 feet up. It may not have to be exactly. I've got some security cameras all across that plaza, and I'm going to have to work with them. That shows a satellite on the wall back there. That's an old satellite which will be coming down. So it'll just measure out so that I can get it. It might be 11 feet up. It might be 12 feet up. It'll just be up as high as I need it to get the shade that I need to come across that brick. That's
Okay. How tall is the existing building?
Pardon?
How tall is the existing building that you're attached to?
Oh, my.
18, maybe 18?
Probably 20 feet
Okay.
or more. Probably more, 22 feet.
I
don't
had
know.
him note on his application that it was possibly 12 foot high because this is the 1-for-1, based on the height as the setback that he would need. So we went as high as 12, but he's provided more information today.
I need to get the proper slope to come down to 10 feet. That's why it's a little bit questionable whether we'll go 11 feet or 12 feet.
Okay.
I talked to a contractor about it, and it's a rather simple process. It's just attach it to the brick and run it out and stabilize those posts on that concrete wall, and it'll be a secure setup.
And then is it going to, what are you going to do with the rainwater runoff? Is there going to be a
I
gutter?
already thought of that. There's drains on the back of that building. I think you can see them on a couple of those pictures. We'll just tap it into one of those.
So you'll kind of bring it back to the building and
Yeah.
into that? Okay, thanks.
What is that vent on the back of the building?
Which one are you talking about?
The one that's up on the screen right now?
That's the awning. Oh,
I'm looking at the long white structure.
I think that's part of his existing awning that pulls out.
Is that part of an
correct?
awning?
There's an awning on the back of the building right
Okay.
by the windows.
That's the
Okay.
awning currently.
So that's going to come off.
Yeah, that's going to come off. I
Okay.
thought that would solve the problem, but it doesn't. I never realized those bricks were going to get that hot until we started to use it back there.
okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Anyone else to speak in favor of the request? You can have a seat.
Have a seat.
Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Okay, anyone to speak opposed? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? No, hearing none. Okay, we are going to have a brief executive session and we will return shortly. right.
Okay.
Relative to appeal number 12287, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve it with conditions, and the conditions will be recited by our esteemed solicitor.
So the conditions that we're going to impose here are things that you discussed and indicated that you were planning on doing anyways. We just want to make sure that they get done if the motion is approved. The first condition would be that you will erect fencing to secure the parking area and entrances to the building, and that fencing will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Second thing is that you will provide secure access to the building. You had indicated a key fob system, so something along those lines that will allow secure access to the building. And then for people who are coming in initially, you would only do that by appointment. And then the third condition, hours of operation. We would ask that you restrict the hours of operation, again, so as not to alter the essential character of the neighborhood, to 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. Okay? So with those restrictions.
Second.
You could call the roll, Amy.
Okay.
And we're voting on the conditions first?
No, you're voting on everything subject to the conditions. It's all one motion.
Mr. Sebald?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Genshin?
Yes.
Very well. Congratulations. Approved with conditions, and I'll make sure that those are in your letter for you.
And finally, appeal number 12288 by Jack Thompson. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second it.
Okay. Amy, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Sebald?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Genshin?
Yes.
Excellent. Motion approved. Congratulations, guys. Thank you, board.
All right. Also entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.